It's going live. I think we're live now.
Yeah, I see the live on it. You're recording?
We record.
All right. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have Mike Reichert, myself present, along with the mayor, service director. Could I have the approval of the minutes of previous meetings? Did you read them, Mike?
Yeah, I did. I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the December 2nd meeting.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess I should, Doc's ill, so do we need
I'll make a motion to excuse Doc Feldner from tonight's meeting.
Okay, I'll second that. Do we have any amendments to the agenda tonight? Do I have approval of the agenda as published?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the posted agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, tonight we have discussion items A through D. First one is update on customer bills. Mayor?
Is Nikki on?
Yes.
Okay, I'll introduce it. I think that, and perhaps I'll just restate the obvious. Most of the community, myself included, got their December utility bill, which is for November service, yesterday. Has literally been hung up with probably millions of other pieces of mail in that whole Cleveland hub postal service quagmire, whatever. So we have obviously, you can see it if you look at the revenue. We collected about just a little over 60% of what we build. It's usually over 95% of what we bill that we collect for. So we had a bad revenue month. I think that helped set the stage there. And then I think Nikki will get into issues like the late fees and what we expect going forward as far as people who were waiting to get their bills and what impact that will have now that they got another bill. So having said all that, I'll allow Nikki to go through what we intend to do over the next couple of weeks as far as working with customers and generating the revenue we need.
I can say we're not charging late fees at this point. When the policy was amended, I think maybe back March, April of last year when this whole thing kind of started and we started waiving late fees. We talked about it a little bit later in the year and decided to keep on with that same practice. So no one received any late fees on their bills, or will receive late fees when they get their bill this month, which should probably be coming today or tomorrow. So we had, I don't know, in our office, several calls, people trying to get balances. And I know the clerks in the utilities office worked hard. They had one day 50 voicemails at the end of the day that they returned to customers to try and help them understand, how to get online or what their balance is and help them get their bill paid. My next conversation about bills will be with A1. This was certainly out of their control, not something that they did, but my polite request of them will be, instead of taking that mail to the post office, they're in New Washington, to bring that to the Gallium post office and take it inside. If you take it inside and say, this is local mail, it does not go to Cleveland first. So just, I would hope that this never happens to the Postal Service again, because I think we all know what it's like to get beat up by the public. 60% of their employees getting COVID and then nobody wants to work there. It was completely out of A1's control. But I think knowing that the mail is going out locally gives us another layer of protection there. Because I don't know the mail system, why it goes to Cleveland, then comes back here, but it does. So I'm going to talk to them and just make the request that we just keep it local.
I think that would be a good idea, Nikki, because I've heard if you take it in, it'll stay here.
Yep, I do it all the time. If it's a local card or something, I just hand it to the clerk at the window and say, this is local, and they put it in a different box.
Nikki, just to let you know too, I understand the reason why it goes to Cleveland direct now is because Mansfield doesn't really is treated as a hub anymore.
Okay,
It's directed up to there and comes back down again. That was done a couple of years ago, back when I was still working. That was an issue that we were informed about as a business. So just to let you know.
so it is the case. I mean, it's just so, it seems so
It's a
screwy
pain.
for it to go north and then come back down south here to us.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
you know, I think if we can, that's a workaround that we could certainly get in place.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Like Mark said, that's, I think would be a good idea if that's, if they're willing to do that.
Well, I
Was there,
think most of that is informational. I didn't mean to talk over you, Nikki, but that, I mean, that these are things that we're doing in the short term and then trying to make that workaround as she said, with regard to have it never leave the community. The upshot of that, or the fairly obvious, is that it's affected our year-end balances. We've talked a little bit in this committee and in council in general about a couple of the utility funds year-end balances, and this takes that problem, makes it a little bit worse. But I think by and large, we'll end up short in 2020, but probably we'll make that up in early 2021 as people pay for. Again, what your bill will reflect is the usage that you had back in November. You're just now in early January getting a bill for that. So there's going to be a little bit of what they call, I guess, high touch customer service. We expect to handle a fair number of calls as people get their last wave or their next wave of bills. So.
Okay, I guess that took care of A and B, customer late fees. Was there anything else you wanted to add on that? Either one of you, Mayor?
I recommending that we continue that until the concerns about COVID subside a little bit more. That what we did was reinstitute, I think Nikki mentioned this, we reinstituted the stormwater fee, which connects to the next topic, but we never changed the ordinance with reference to waiving those late fees. I think we're recommending, or I know we're recommending, that we don't reinstitute them, particularly with this, how that coincides with the Postal Service and their problems. So
Since we haven't reinstituted, we really don't need to take it to full council for any action, right?
no, it's just informational. I think it's informational.
Okay.
And Mark, Tom, I agree. I think that, and quite frankly, I think with the current and possibly future question marks in relation to this, I think it would be a good idea to go ahead and continue to do the waiving of the late fees, until there's some stability somewhere. Not sure when that will be, but somewhere.
Right. To the extent that these committee meetings are watched by more people than they would be if we were meeting face to face, I'll go ahead and, mention to anybody who may be watching that the 60%, I think maybe a little more than that, 62%, not to be too picky about it, that we collected, even though people didn't get bills, I think is something that's important. I think the ability to get those folks to pay because they pay online, those customers, not folks, those customers. So I think that's, if any good came of this episode, I think it's that we may be able to move a few more people from that routine of getting the bill, seeing them out, writing the check, sending it in, and moving them to more of an internet payment. So we'll see how that goes. But about 60%, was Nikki 62%? That
Yeah, right around there. And I think the majority of that came in on the 2 ACH days. So the people who are set up for automatic withdrawals, I think a big chunk of that came on those days and not prior days in the month.
right. So anyways, that would be that automatic payment. That's, I guess we can use this bad situation to plug the fact that if you use that, you can avoid any kind of concern. Our concern a little bit are those people who have a tendency to have spent a little bit more on Christmas because we didn't send them a utility bill. Now we're gonna have to coax them to pay us. So anyways, that's probably more than enough on that subject, but it is, it's gonna cause matching 20 and our year-ending balances, and 21 is gonna be a little bit, we're not gonna have the revenue at the end of 20 that we need. Let's hope we can make that up in early 21. So that's it.
Yes, Julie.
On the live, Tom had said an observation is something that might help local mail is have the whole zip code, the 5 plus the 4 on the zip code.
Mhm.
I don't know if we have those on there or not. I don't. So.
All right, Nikki, that's your department. We'll have to check that. I mean, literally, if that will help. I think that, and presenting them at the window in Gallion, saying they're all local, I think that's our 2. We have a few customers, very few, that have out of 44833 numbers, some commercial accounts that would have that number go to a out of community landlord, for instance. So by and large, that will help. All right. Mark,
Okay, on to stormwater. Who wants to
Yeah.
take that?
well, I will, think
I got to go
those-
first,
I-
Tom.
what I'd like to do is point out that we never reimbursed, might not be the exact technical term, but I think we all recall that we had a 90-day moratorium. We didn't charge people for storm sewer for 90 days. It occurs to me with a little over 100,000, about 110,000 of COVID dollars available, that one of the things that we could consider as a use of those funds is reimbursing the stormwater fund. It would be crediting the fund. It wouldn't be just taking cash, but it would make up for those 3 months that we didn't collect anything in stormwater.
Does that fall under their usage guide?
Yeah, I think it'll be eligible. Certainly worth looking at.
I mean, that wouldn't be a bad idea
Yeah,
I think
that would
it's-
be.
if it's legal.
It's roughly 63,000. Again, I'm like roughing it out, but I know it's around 60,000, 63,000 that we collect monthly in stormwater charges. And we went 3 months without that. So while the 100,000 wouldn't cover all that we didn't collect from customers, it would allow us to recover, a large percentage of that, of the impact. And where you'll see that, if you were to say, well, what's the impact of this? You'll see that the stormwater fund balance, the last report in the end of December, we'll see what the new report shows, but we actually had a decrease in that stormwater balance. And that's something we want to avoid. it'll be hard to keep going in the third ward. I'm looking at third ward councilman here, going out the third ward and putting stormwater in what I call the numbered streets, first, second, third, fourth, Pensley, I mean, fifth.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just a comment on a possible use.
That's fine. I think that sounds like a good idea if it falls under their guidelines.
Yeah, we'll check into that, and that may turn into legislation. I bet not immediately, but early on this year to try to get that fund. Again, it's 180,000. It's kind of coincidental, I guess. How that came to mind is we were looking at the local share of some of those stormwater projects. Seems like we've funded 4 of them in a row, or maybe 5. We're just building out the third ward there, that low spot in town, building out, replacing next to nothing stormwater infrastructure with pretty decent infrastructure. Anyways, our local share is about 180,000 on a lot of those projects. I know you'll recall we use issue 1 generally as part of the funding for these projects, and then we have a local share, and that's has consistently been around 175 to 200,000. So by not collecting that money helped us back then when there was so much uncertainty. But you look at how that impacts our ability to keep funding the local side of those projects, the non-issue 1 side of those projects. Anyways, that's that, and we'll work then with your okay. We'll work in getting that as a use of those funds that were unspent last year.
Well, I was going to say, I agree with Mark and Tom. I do agree. I think that would be a great way to do something with that fund, to put it in there.
Yeah. The only competing interest, then we can move on, was having some money for another utility credit like we had before. And that was pretty labor intensive. A lot of work was done to make sure that each person was credited the right amount and so and so. This would be, from an administrative point of view, pretty easy to accomplish that. And we don't know for sure, but I have a feeling we're going to get another wave of money from the feds based on what they passed here over the last couple of weeks. So I don't know whether they'll call it CARES Act 2 or something, but I anticipate getting some more money to do COVID-related community relief.
Okay, does that future use of care funds, is that what we just talked about along?
Yeah, that's just what I was monologuing about. I didn't mean to go on, but yeah, I think I would rather use it if we can to reimburse the stormwater fund, and what I think is we should get ready, because we're going to see more money coming through that pipeline. So that might be when we could take care of a utility credit.
Okay, going back
Mm-hmm.
couple months ago, did we ever determine anything about that conversation on Edwards? Are we going to look at how we readjust that amount? Remember what I'm talking
Edward
about?
Street? Is that what you're talking about?
Edwards,
Yeah.
Carter.
Yeah, I know exactly. I know what you're talking about. We have a bunch of situations where there are commercial properties that I think that's, I guess, I wasn't expecting the question. I think you look at those case by case, and if somebody feels like they've been overcharged, I think that what you're talking about is, should we charge a gravel lot less than a paved lot.
That's kind of what we discussed because
Yeah,
the
I think
impervious
that's
and
a good idea.
impervious.
I don't have a new formula, but I think anything you do, you're gonna reduce revenue.
Right.
But a bunch of parking lots like that. There's a big parking lot down on Croft. Construction company down there, Weichman Brothers. You know, it's a big lot. It's mostly gravel. It gets charged the same as.
Well, and then look at Peabody,
Yeah.
Covert. I mean,
Well, Covert paved a lot of that, so they put concrete in. But that gets into ways that you could reduce rates on commercial properties. That really isn't what I don't think that's a CARES Act thing, but anyway.
no, I just brought it up. I thought
Yeah.
we were done with the CARES.
We are.
Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to discuss that, I guess.
It's something to start the conversation, that's for dang sure.
So, okay, do we have any other business from anyone? Okay, our next meeting will be February 3rd at 7. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Hey, real quick before you go, we're gonna have that PCA legislation. I'm not sure quite when that'll fall.
February.
Have to get with the auditor and the service director, and they'll have to talk with Sawville and get a recommendation on that. So that I know I'm not sure if that falls.
It's February, Tom.
Yeah, I
It's
know it
February
does.
and
So I'm saying
August.
next committee meeting, we'll work to try to get a recommendation on that.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 7:23.
Good night, all.
See ya.